Hello, strangelings. Welcome back to my parlor. So today I wanted to talk about something specific, of course. For a very long time here in the United States, we have been brainwashed to believe that we have a two-party system. Not only that we have a two-party system, but that is what it was intended, and that we've always had only two parties. I was studious in my government class. You see, I've been watching politics since I was 4 years old, because to me it became pretty obvious that politics is about who wants to dominate and control our lives. Really, it's not what it's supposed to be. Politics is actually supposed to be a way to keep the citizens of a particular country safe and healthy. However, at least here in the States, it's definitely turned on its head. And I can tell you why. You see, that two-party system fallacy is a big one. It is a big, big one. When we first started the country, our first vote had 5 parties. 5, guys. 5. And, to be honest, the actual documents of our government, in fact, lend for a multi-party system. Does not give a number as to how many parties there should be. There should be multiple. That's why there are still third parties. Yes, I said 3 parties first because saying third party, voting third party, acts like everyone who is not in the 2 main parties is not a party. You know, they haven't formed a separate party. Makes it seem like they're all within one, and they're not. And they're not supposed to be. Now, why do I think this way? Well, one, my government teacher actually read from books from Benjamin Franklin and also Thomas Jefferson. So, yeah, I had to think real quick because, yeah, Jefferson and Jackson get confused in my head a lot. I can't help it. So, in these, you have Jefferson stating that he was upset that people like Hamilton and Adams wanted a two-party system because a two-party system is easy to corrupt, and that has been shown throughout history in the European countries that we came from. 2, there is sightings of the fact that the reason why we don't want a two-party system is because we saw the corruption happen with King George. You see, the monarchy of England was not the ruling body at the time. They were one of 2 ruling bodies. They had a two-party system. King George was one ruling body, and then Parliament, or the people, because Parliament was of the people at the time. And in fact, that's what politics means, is of the people. This was a two-party system because Parliament and King George, who was going insane at the time, kept arguing back and forth about these policies and laws that they wanted to make. That is a two-party government. They weren't the only ones. Revolutions in France started with two-party governments not caring about the people. Actually, what happened in France in the first French Revolution is the first French Revolution that we were taught is exactly the same thing that's happening now. It is. People being starved out, homeless being shuffled into prison camps, people being put on death row, not death row, but on a death sentence for the entertainment of the rich and merely for things like being poor. Sound familiar? And France was going by a two-party system at the time the French Revolution first started. Now I say the first of those because of the fact that right after, about a year after, the revolutionaries had decided to usurp the power, they decided to then start acting like the aristocrats they had beheaded before. So then there was a second French Revolution where those guys were treated the same as the aristocrats because they decided that that was their position, so they needed to act like the aristocrats. Now, of course, the biggest example of our founding fathers not as a whole wanting a two-party system, aside from the few men who actually thought it would be a good idea, these are men who thought corporations running our country would be a good idea too. So how's that panned out, you know? The biggest evidence is the fact that we have not one, not two, but 3 chambers of governments. Pardon me. I have to keep the window open because it's hot in here and I can't run an air conditioner because of the chemicals. However, my pollution lung is a bit of a catch in my throat sometimes, so please bear with me when I do that. We have 3 chambers of government. We have the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court, the lower courts, the state Supreme Courts, and the lower courts from there. We have congressional, which is the whole of Congress, the House of Representatives, and the Senate, right? Then we have executive, which is the president, his administration, and some of the law enforcement stuff. Now, there is, of course, some of the law enforcement stuff that has to go through Congress because of the fact that it's so big. Things like going to war, and yes, I consider that law enforcement. Not that they have to follow our laws, but that it is an extension of law enforcement. There is certain things that the big guys, the big alphabets, FBI, CIA, NSA, all of those guys, there are some pretty big things that they actually have to ask Congress about. Yes, I believe that is, special sessions that don't get recorded, but there is some certain things that they do have to actually go through Congress for. So, these 3 branches of government are all made for checks and balances. And guys, nothing exists for checks and balances unless these 2 parties that they have brainwashed us to believe are the only parties we get, well, these 2 parties have to have 50%. No more, no less. Because it's the only way they can check each other. And they also have to not both be willing to do the same corruption. Because if they're both willing to do the same corruption, i.e. taking money from big corporations to look the other way about, say, I don't know, putting non-food in our food, well, you got no checks and balances there because both parties are okay with it. In a 3-party system, you cannot have one party controlling 2 of the 3 branches of the checks and balances and actually have it work right. You see, they're supposed to be checking off each other. What's supposed to happen is, say, the executive branch decides to pull way too much power, decides to make concentration camps for homeless, so on and so forth. They are run by the Republican Party. Now, Congress is run by the Green Party. This is imaginary idea, okay? Congress is run by the Green Party. The Green Party notices this. They check on all the documents and find out that we're breaking, that the executive branch is breaking the laws in these 5 areas. They call that out. Now the Democrats are controlling the judicial branch. Now the Democrats will say, okay, well, the Green Party has seen this, let me also check. Yes, it is really happening, so let's go forward with this. However, you have a 2-party system with just Democrats and Republicans, right? You have Republicans controlling the executive branch, doing all that nasty stuff, putting homeless in concentration camps, not caring if it's kids or not, you know, things like that. You have a Congress that is controlled by the Democratic Party. I hate the fact that they call themselves the Democratic Party. I always have, just so you know, because democracy and democratic, I mean, come on. Anyway, you have the Democrats controlling Congress. They see that they've misstepped 5 times, broke the law, and they bring that to the judicial branch, who is also controlled by the Republicans. Same problem if the Democrats control 2 chambers and the Republicans only control 1. Y'all don't want it to keep going this badly. You have to recognize that the corruption is in the 2-party system. The fact that it's a 2-party system is why it's so easy to corrupt. That's why the Founding Fathers never gave us a 2-party system. That's why they had to convince us over time. And it's been a while. I think the hard push really started in the 80s to go from, okay, no, the American Communist Party, the American Green Party, you guys, no, we're going to call you all third parties. And we're going to pretend you're not supposed to be here. We're going to pretend this is transgressing what the Founding Fathers want, when it is actually the reason why we've had it since the Founding Fathers is because that's what they wanted. Just saying, guys. The reason why we did not need or want a 2-party system in this country since 1776 is because of the fact that a 2-party system is so very easy to corrupt that we are seeing the effects of that very problem right now. And sure, we can try to put Democratic representatives in, or we could try to fix the system and start putting more third parties in. Sorry guys, hold on. But unfortunately, it's broke. It's broke so bad that there is not a single Founding Father, not even Hamilton, who can be happy about what's happening right now. New Rome is falling, guys. Sad but true. We are the only country in the world right now that has the kind of size and power per capita that ancient Rome wielded. And we are falling. Just like Rome. I know what people believe about Rome's fall, but just like Rome, we are falling from the inside. The corruption is in the house. All right, guys, I don't want to leave it on a sad note, but I mean, this isn't a happy video. It's not a happy situation here in the States. And if you're watching from outside the States, if you have a deity, pray for us. But hopefully most of us will make it through. There's a good portion of us who are already prepared for what's happening, who will be fine. And then hopefully we'll be able to network after the fall, if it's bad. Hopefully we'll be able to network afterwards. But don't worry. We'll be fine. one way or another. We're just needing to cut off the bad parts. Needing to cut out the spoil. Alright, guys. Y'all know. Doesn't matter who you are, I love you. Take care of each other, and I will see you guys in the next video. And one of these days, I'm going to show you the whole of what that actually started as. See ya.